Okay, good afternoon, and I've been looking forward to coming here actually for quite some time because you grow in some part the sugar that we sell at Waitrose. So it's great to have the opportunity to come and talk to you. I've been at Waitrose for 28 years, and it's quite interesting to me to come back here because I think probably about 15 years ago I was actually here, not in this building because it wasn't here, but in that little wooden building, talking to a carrot conference, one of the first conferences I was speaking at that time. And it's interesting to see how different conferences have got different flavours because the carrot conference was all about carrot fly, and it was all about putting fleece on and avoiding using chemicals and so forth and mechanical means. And the following month, I think I was at the leek growers conference, and that was all about actually the pressure that you could get into your sprayer to penetrate into the heart of the leek without blowing it out of the ground, and sort of totally different approaches from two sort of production areas. So it's quite interesting going around this conference and seeing how things have moved on a lot. And I'm trying to understand what your big issues are, but it sort of seems like nematode and black grass seem to be two things that keep coming up. But anyway. So, why am I talking to you? Well, I think it's quite interesting as well to think about the stuff that you're growing. It goes through all of this production process, ends up on the shelf of a supermarket like mine. And what context is that being sold in? How does that actually look? And actually, on this slide, I've said here, customers' view of sustainability. Now, sustainability is an extremely overused word. And we tend to think more in terms of responsibility, because if you think about what sustainability means, it means being able to do the same thing or carry on doing the same thing forever, effectively. Now, I think we probably all know that we can't carry on doing the same thing forever. We've got all sorts of things that are impacting on us, climate change for one, changing customer trends for another. Obviously, there are various threats and compromises in the whole of the agricultural world, water, etc., etc. So we have to think about that very carefully. And we're not excused from that as a supermarket, because although you might say everybody's always got to buy food, actually, where are they going to buy that food? And of course, we want them to buy it from us. So we've done a lot of work on trying to understand why it is that people come to us, and it directly is relevant to the work that you're doing, and I'm going to show you why it is. It comes down to one very, very simple thing, and you might say this is blindingly obvious, but it is how happy you are making your customer. Now, that's quite an interesting statement when you look at it in a bit more detail, because it's not about, how complacent you make them feel, how tall you make them feel, it's how happy you make them feel. So we want to know a little bit more about what makes people happy, because if that's what's making them come to do business with us, to buy our stuff, why? It turns out there are five different aspects to this. So yes, quality food, you know that. Waitrose is famous for quality food. Store environment, if you shop with us, you know it's okay. Customer service, everybody likes a bit of service. Ethics is sat there in amongst the top 5 reasons why they shop with Waitrose. And you start to think, when you're posing this question about whether responsibility, sustainability is an investment or a cost, we start to get into that debate, because the ethics requires a degree of investment. Are we investing wisely, or are we investing foolishly? So when people are talking about ethics, they've got a very, very different view. Different people have got a lot of different views. And you may have seen charts like this before, and I'm just going to turn around a bit so I can sort of gesture with my arms a bit, because we have got a thing on here, haven't we? Yeah, we have. Oh, jolly good. So actually, it turns out that most people are extremely, we won't say selfish, but self-interested. So what's in it for me is what it's all about. Something in it for me up here, so a lot is perceived to be in it for me on this end of the graph, and actually this is just altruistic. I'm just doing it because for the love of it. On the radar, off the radar. Now, so the stuff we're really focusing on is what is in this bit. Something in it for me and on the radar. And it is absolutely true, and a very nice thing for this audience, that British and indeed local food actually is right there, top right. It is one of the most important issues that our customers are looking for. And we sell in British sugar. So, but look what else is up there as well. I mean, some of these are not obviously relevant to this, but you know, animal welfare, packaging, very, very important, packaging, waste. This whole issue of pesticides and fertilizers is absolutely right up there on their radar. Staff management and support for small-scale producers and indeed farmers is very, very important to the... What's not on the radar down here, water usage. Now, you will know because if you don't water your crops, they die. And you also know that we're in a state of some difficulty with water at times. You'll know just how, in fact, important that is. So we will focus our corporate efforts on that considerably behind the scenes. But from the public's perception, it rains every day, and they don't want it. They want it to be sunny every day. Never mind day. So the other thing that they're looking for is security. They want to know that, in the example I would normally use, if you're buying beef, you want it to be beef. So you need to know where every ingredient comes from. Now, this is a bit out of date, and this trend actually has continued. So actually, these issues of food security, food safety, have persisted. And most people want to see that they know where their food's coming from. And what that actually means, it plays very much to the agenda for British production, because British production has got the shortest supply chain you can have. You know, I can jump in a car and I can literally drive anywhere in the UK very, very easily. I know exactly, I'm saying me, talking about me representing the company. Obviously, we have teams of people who actually do that. But you can actually go and shake your hand of whoever it is producing your food. And that is seen as very, very important by customers, that surety. The other thing is the role of self-evidence. Now, this is an example which is to do with soap, nothing to do with sugar. It's to do with soap, and it's to do with RSPO palm oil. Now, the thing is, it's all very well for us to go on and bang on about, yeah, we've got sustainable policies and we're not using unsustainable palm oil and all of these type of things. But actually, the number of people that listen to you is a vanishingly small number. What actually happens is they have to see this in reality for themselves. So labelling has got a huge part to play. So yes, this says RSPO here, as telling them. But actually, the physical process as well is very, very important. This is a pack of mints. Some years ago, you'd have bought that in a nice big chunky piece of plastic, which is loved by the recycling industry, by the way, because they love to have a nice big chunk of plastic to recycle. But of course, it doesn't really work very well in your bin at home if you're having to ration the amount of waste that you're giving to your local authority, as most people have to these days. So it's self-evident. If you're packing it in just a simple lightweight pillow pack, you could just screw that up. It's in the bin. You are reducing packaging. So yes, we have a public target, which is to reduce packaging by half compared to 2005 by the end of 2016. But that is what makes it believable. And here is a pack of Silver Spoon sugar. Now, the reason why I'm showing that is because in all the time that I've been working with Silver Spoon sugar, one of the persistent feedbacks that I've had from people who've been talking to me about it is, isn't it great? And we've got this little logo on the side of the pack. They're not even talking about the sugar. What they're talking about is the packaging and the fact that FSC, sustainable wood pulp used in the production of the paper, is very, very important to them. So what you're starting to get is a picture now where people are trusting the fact you've got British product, but actually they're wanting to see evidence, actual evidence, that things are moving along a more sustainable agenda, or a more responsible agenda, I should say, a more responsible agenda. Now, waste is another huge topic out there in consumer land, and rightly so. The fact about half of food produced is in some way or another wasted is one of those statistics that's bandied about an awful lot. About a third of that will be actually wasted in the home. Quite a small part is actually wasted in the retail sector, And there's another bunch of stuff which is wasted, or shall we say, not converted into food in the farming part of the production, the agricultural phase. Now, we've got to be very, very careful about talking about this, because it is extremely easy for a business, a supermarket, for example, to lower its waste by simply saying, well, I'm not going to take any waste into our business. So actually, all you actually do is you're not actually reducing the amount of waste that's being produced, but what you're doing is pushing that waste somewhere else. And generally speaking, that would be back down the supply chain, so that the agricultural phase has got the problem. So what we do is to be quite flexible with the specifications. I know this isn't quite the same for sugar beet, because you're not trying to generate a product that is sold on the shelf with any kind of cosmetic aspects to it. But what we will do is to alter the specification to adjust the sizes and so forth as the crop is either bigger one year or not. I mean, carrots, I seem to be talking a bit about carrots this time, don't I? But carrots this year have been very, very bold because of the warmth of the weather. This pack is a pack of weather-blemished apples. Now, that's where a whole crop has had a problem with hail or frost damage or something like that. Actually, there's nothing wrong with the apple. It's just got a cosmetic finish defect. So we pack them up, sell them as weather-blemished apples, a little bit cheaper, and everybody's happy. So we're helping that waste agenda. But behind all of that is the principle that for the maximum return, we are looking to have the production of agriculturally excellent products. So actually, rather than have to deal with the waste problem, we are looking to have them produced right first time. And I know that's a huge, huge challenge, and it's rather arrogant state for me to say right first time, because you've got climate, you've got all sorts of things that impact on this. But the principle behind producing good quality product that mostly can be sold is where we're at with our agricultural policies. Thinking about how we relate to all the different sectors. So we've got, I've just talked a bit about customer, obviously. There's a big chunk of people, 55,000 people work for Waitrose, that I'm also talking to a lot. And I then look back down into our supply chain, and we talk about how the Waitrose way, which I'm going to talk about a little bit in a moment, impacts on that. So this is a set of principles that we apply. And these are the Waitrose Way Awards. So in this case, it's Cropwell Bishop, because they launched a beautiful cheese, championing British cheese. This is Fruition, because they had a fantastic campaign for promoting British apples during the British apple season. This is all about boosting the importance of British product. And I'm going to talk a lot more about that in a moment. There was some comment earlier on about social media. Now, social media, this is an actual page out of my Twitter feed. I don't know whether Ruth is here, but actually, I'm sorry, Ruth, if you are, it's one of your tweets is there. Social media is becoming an really enormously important part of the communication process now. And the reason is because it's twofold, actually. Firstly, it's zero cost. So actually, you can actually have positive messages relayed for very, very low investment. Of course, the other side of it is there's a vulnerability associated with that, because any negative messages can also be circulated just as easily. So in fact, social media is a particularly powerful force of keeping us safe, legal, decent, honest, that's for sure, but also for promoting the positive benefits. And I would say that you're going to see that just carrying on increasing continuously. This is actually a bit of the Twitter feed from a little video we did about British sugar and tomatoes and so forth, which you might have seen, which is on YouTube. Right, so very quickly, because I want to get on to the Champion British aspect of it. When you're thinking about any kind of policy, it gets rapidly into millions and millions and millions of pages. And nobody can really have the time, inclination, or be bothered to read all of that lot. So the important thing is to get it down into really short bites. So the Waitrose policy, so-called the Waitrose Way, is focused on 4 pillars. Championing British, talk about that a lot more in a moment. Treading lightly, which is the environmental aspects of our policy. So that's all of the wastewater, carbon, usual suspects in that area. Treating people fairly. Now, that is as much about overseas as in the UK, but things like fair trade, but also all the relationship with the communities. Now, this is a very important point from the point of view of investment, because we spend a lot and I mean a lot, millions and millions of pounds investing in our local communities. And the reality is that that is about us being important to the people who are around us. And not just because you can't buy a pint of milk if we were to close. And this is about building loyalty, and it's about fostering what we call the triple bottom line. And the triple bottom line is about the economic sustainability of the business, it's about the social sustainability of the business, which is what that's all about, and it's about the environmental sustainability of the business, which is the ability to carry on doing this stuff onwards. And then living well is about health, nutrition, and exercise, and all of these wonderful things like you can drink 2 glasses of wine a day and it's better for you than not. Quick skim through these. Doing a lot of work on building energy efficient buildings, renewable energy, biomass, and so forth. Now that biomass, where does that come from? Some of that biomass is coming out of our agricultural units. Some of that gas that we're producing from our food waste is going into our transport through anaerobic digestion. This waste, I've talked about waste already, in the interest of time I'll move on. But fishing responsibly, this is, again, is about the whole idea that the stuff that you are buying from Waitrose has got credentials which are beyond just the product. And I'll use this as a real example because I would love to say that my customers are buying sustainably caught fish. They actually are. They are buying sustainably caught fish. But actually what they're really buying is the quality fish. And it's a happy situation that many of the things which we do to create the sustainable fish also produce quality fish. And the customer is after the quality fish. And that model works quite a lot all the way down through the way we work. Health, helping make healthy choices and good food even better, yes. Community, I've talked a bit about that already. I'm going to concentrate on this part in the interest of time. So let's start to just tease apart a little bit about what championing British means, because clearly we are an international food retailer. We sell, must be half the food we sell is not British, although something like 70% of the produce we sell is British, and all of the meat, and a good portion of our sugar now. When we talk about backing British, why are we doing it? And these are the kind of reasons which we're looking at. So there is something about quality, freshness and seasonality. That's the shortness of the supply chain. There is absolutely something, as I said to you, about food safety, health and provenance. We know where it's all coming from. Animal welfare, yes. Varietal difference in breeds. Food security and sustainability starts to get interesting here. We are very involved with the University of Aberystwyth in sponsoring the Centre for UK Farming Excellence. This is all about establishing more sustainable models for British UK farming. And of course, then you're talking about the other part of the triple bottom line, support for the economy in the countryside. So people don't realise that what they see out there is not something that happens by accident. It's entirely down to the efforts of farmers. You create the countryside. The trend is more in favour of buying British, partly, as I say, because people have got more trust in British product. There's also a trend towards thinking about local food. And I just want to explore this just a little bit in the time that I've got, because what does local food actually mean? Well, talk about communication issues. If we think about a typical conversation, it will go along these lines. And these are actual customer quotes from panels that we've had. So why is local important? I think it's very important that they don't use pesticides. I think you will know that, of course, that's not true. That's got absolutely nothing to do with local food, has anything to do with pesticides. It might or it might not. Might be an organic producer, chances are it's not. You wouldn't want it to come from somewhere foreign, you don't know how animals have been treated, so it's about animal welfare. Well, of course, that's actually not true. I mean, the standards of animal welfare around the world can be extremely high. Fair trade is always important, so local food becomes associated with the idea of fair trade. Well, it hasn't got anything to do with that at all. It's a confused issue, and it gets even more confused because people don't understand this, which you will, Because what you've got on the right-hand side, is it your right, your left? That's a rainfall map. The middle one is a soil map. And that one at the end there, don't worry about what the colours are, is an agricultural map. And of course, you can't grow sugar beet in the Welsh mountains. It wouldn't work. You can't grow apples in Scotland. Doesn't work. So the idea that we've got local food behind every single Waitrose store is nonsense. What we have got here is huge regional variation. So ignoring the fact that you can't see the colours, the actual, well, you might be able to see them just about. But fundamentally, you've got things like pork over in East Anglia. You've got lamb, the dark blue ones, over in Wales and Cornwall. Poultry up there in Northern Ireland for us, mainly because historically that was where you had the lowest disease pressure because of the prevailing winds off the Atlantic. And then you've got beef over the whole country and eggs over the whole country. So you can see, once you start to look at what you mean by local, actually, is it that you've got beef farmer just around the corner, sugar beet farmer around the corner? What we don't want is a situation where the Peterborough store is not selling British sugar because it's actually grown probably by people who are shopping in Peterborough. There we are. So how do we carry on with this? So this is about how we start to promote the idea. And it's about getting people actively involved in the process of going to a farm. So Open Farm Sunday, that's my son as it happens. He's used as a stooge for many of my photographs. That was last year at a fruit farm as part of Open Farm Sunday. Get people out there to experience it. And this year's Open Farm Sunday on June the 7th is going to be an even bigger one than last year. This is a bit of fun, working with the NFU. Chelsea won a silver gilt last year, gold at Hampton Court. Usually we do win golds. But it is about promoting that whole idea about British agriculture in association with the NFU in this case. And my last slide is really to look at the slightly more detailed environmental aspects of this. So Waitrose is one of the organisations there amongst all the rest of them, which have been working with DEFRA on the national pollinator strategy. And what's important here is this whole idea that farming has an element of stewardship for the landscape. Yes, it's about hedgerows. Yes, it's about all the rest of these things. It's also about biodiversity. And it is extremely easy to lose sight of that sometimes. And we end up with causing issues which may be not on the sustainable side of things. It may be more challenging. So bees in particular, yes, I know, cereal crops are wind pollinated, but we still need to produce the seed at some point, and apples and so forth need to be pollinated. So just a lot of work going on in general with that and with wildlife in general. To our customers, of course, this is very important because they will have gardens. In their garden, they have got bees, they've got birds, and they want to see some kind of joining up on this agenda so that we end up with a countryside which is richer, not poorer. So I think just to finish up then, the answer to my question is yes, I think responsibility and sustainability most definitely is an investment for our business. We have actually maintained a very, very positive trading position compared to many, and I'm certain that an element of that has been down to the fact that customers have a huge trust and respect for the way we are trying to progress a much, much bigger agenda than just flogging them a few, onions or whatever. So thank you very much.